Hello, salut. Welcome to the final edition of Research Table. This edition, we'll be talking about research communications. My name is Adora, and with me are my teammates.
Hello, my name is Gift.
Hello, my name is Kemi.
Hi, my name is Aisusa.
So let's dive right in. AI is fundamentally transforming how we work and communicate, promising ease but with risk of misuse. Recently, a newspaper published a story with the raw ChatGPT prompt. How do you effectively use AI tools in your workplace?
I think I actually saw something like that on LinkedIn. I don't know if it's the same one. Definitely, that was an editorial error. How I use AI for my work, I use it mainly to save time because I believe we'll touch on that later on. But most times, with communications, you kind of get things, maybe not last minute, but sometimes there's not just enough time to, get the work done as much as you would have loved, like enough time. So what I try to do is that I try to use AI more like a guiding tool, right? So yes, I can even prompt AI to give me ideas on how to, let me be more specific. For example, one of our programs, which you guys are aware of, on Tobacco Control Data Initiative here at CSEA, we were planning the World No Tobacco Day, which is an annual campaign. And how I use AI was like, the way the program works is that there's already data available, research data, and we will need to, make it, it's mostly complex because you know how research is. Mm-hmm. And of course, our job as strategic communications is to make it, easily digestible to the stakeholders that will need it. So we're pressed for time. We had enough time to plan, but you know how these things can be. So how I use AI, I ensure that in terms of, making the research more like easy to understand, I prompted, because we had to create infographics. Mm-hmm. So I prompted it to, based off the information on what we're trying to do, like, give me ideas on how to, visualize this so that I can communicate it with the designer. You get, because we had to play that role. I'm not the one that designed it, but we needed to communicate the complex of to the designer. So, of course, I used one of the AI tools, and it helped. It didn't give me all the answers, because to be honest, I wasn't looking for the answers. I was only just looking for ideas, because I already know the context, the context in which it was going to be used. So that's why I said responsible use of AI. If you are just going to grab everything that AI has given you, AI is not working in the program or in the research. It doesn't know anything. It's only just giving you ideas, extracting from different places. So it's your responsibility, again, responsible use of AI, to use it in a responsible way. So definitely that should have never happened in the example that you gave.
Sure.
Okay, so for me, as you know, my role in CC is very octoposorial. He has 20 legs. Okay, so from hosting to social media management to working with the videography team, I work a lot with ISO, documentary production, and all of that. So I'll say where we would mostly use AI would be so when we're planning for our documentary, in terms of we have a broad idea, right? So just like Kemi said, simplifying it into, what are the main texts in this paper, right? Because for us here in CC, as a think tank, we work with heavy economic documents. Mm-hmm. I think on this table, Kemi and I are the only, sort of economics that have economics background, and a lot of the work we do here, is heavy economics and analysis and a lot of these things. So as research communicators here at CC, what we do is to, break these heavy economics down. So for the documentary, we'll just prompt the AI to see how we can break this down, right? So, but we're not taking everything the AI gives us hook, line, and sinker, because we already have the idea, right? It is just enhancing what we have, testing it in different forms, right? And then we then put together the elements that is useful for us in the work that we do.
So from the media aspects,
I would say I resonate deeply with trying to breaking things down, because, as you said, you two are the only ones that have certain level of economic background. Me, I'm an engineer by trade, by schooling. But then working with researchers, trying to plead with them, please break this thing down. We from the media, our goal isn't to only, relate with our economists or those with economic background. We're trying to make that as broad as possible. Let everybody know what's going on with the economy, how is it affecting you, how is it affecting us, what can we look forward to, what can we change in our lifestyle. So obviously, you need to bring it down to the lowest level possible. How I work with AI is that breaking it down. We try our best to just squeeze out the necessary things from the economic jargon. So when they are talking inflation, inflation, this one, that one, all these things, you break it down, that, okay, this price of milk used to be 10 naira yesterday, today it's 100 naira, tomorrow 200. Why? So you just try and break it down, simplify it in the way that I want it to be. So I'm not just depending on AI. I'm like, okay, tell me what I need. I'm like, okay, do this for me. And then I review it. I'm like, okay, it makes sense enough for us to spread it around.
Yeah, and that is using AI responsibly.
Exactly.
Because I believe that AI is meant to actually simplify, our work. It's also meant to make things easier, not doing the job for you. You're supposed to use your sense of reasoning.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our individual sense of reasoning. So that is where we should be applying our sense of reasoning and AI, just blend it all.
Sorry, with each passing year, there's always developments in technology. Like, okay, I will consider myself a creative person. I like to draw, I like to make music and all. So initially, we started with people know the cavemen drew on rocks, and then we made paper, and then they draw on paper. Obviously, they say, no, you have to go back to the traditional, go and draw on rock, or go and make paint from animal fats.
Draw on the floor.
Draw on the floor. And then we started using, obviously, you look and then you draw, but then they made stencils, and they say if you're using stencils, you're cheating. But it's not the way.
Yeah.
It just helps you make life easier, helps you learn faster, depending on how you're using it. So if you are exactly responsible, as you said, you're not depending on it.
Yeah.
You are working with side by side, you learn your own, you ask it, it just guides you, then it's good.
So the word guidance.
Sorry, so in terms of information dissemination or research dissemination as well. So if you do like a prompt on AI, for instance, it will ask you what medium is what it is that you want, what it is that you want to project going to. So for instance, AI will tell you that the language for Instagram is different from the language for LinkedIn, is different from the language, of
YouTube,
Facebook, Twitter, X, and all of that. So that is another way where, AI also would make our work easy, right? So you just put it in. Like I said earlier, it's not like you just pick up everything, right? Because I've had experiences where you put something in AI and what it gave you, not like, oh no, this is not what I mean. Say, oh sorry. I mean,
that's
not. Say, oh sorry, and because AI cannot actually, read your mind. So for you to be able to use AI well, I believe you should be able to understand the context and content of what it is, that you are looking for. Exactly. So if you don't know what it is that you're looking for in the first place, especially as communicators, who are your target audience? What language, would they easily resonate with? Right. So when you understand all of that, it now makes it easier. So when you see the wrong thing, okay, no, this is not what I want. But if you don't have an idea, it just when AI, anything it reads you just receives it, and then
you just
take
it out without editing.
Yes. And then I have my madam who
Okay.
Our fellow.
I'm not a madam.
yeah, so we do a lot of copy edit work together. So I remember 2 weeks ago was when Kemi pointed my attention to the publication, right, that had that bold AI prompt, on it. And the first question I asked her was, who is the chief editor? Or is there no editor at all in that, person? Because it just got me thinking, for us here at CC, Kemi and I are, tasked with the responsibility of proofreading and reviewing, a lot of the research work that, goes through and is, produced here. So we do that. We sit down line by line to see that everything works and then hand it over to our head of communications, who also does the final read. So I think that in this time and age where, the use of AI is now a thing, it's every organization, especially on the comms team, needs to put in that extra work. I think that is where our work as, communicators or those of us in communication comes in, right? So when any work comes, I know it will be like an extra layer, but it is important to sit down and deeply read, because now the researchers might use the AI to, aid their works, in some sort of way and things like that. So it is now a responsibility to sit down and have a look at it. Now it has even climbed another layer to say that there are some words that are now frequently used, in AI. Yeah. So they are called AI words, as Kemi called them. So sometimes if I see those words, I find, another synonym to use, right? So that when you're reading something, it's as bad as if I see something right now. I don't know if it happens to any of us. You just know that this thing is AI generated, right? So as not to put out the wrong product out. You now have to sit down and do another layer of edit.
Okay. Well, I have a question.
Okay.
As you said, that you need to make that necessary extra efforts to review and to ensure that whatever you're putting out is correct, based on your organization's image and all.
Yeah.
So at what point now does it feel like, because we all know now that AI is very present in everybody's life, whether you want it to or not. It's very present. It's very present in all our lives and all. So going that extra mile to be like, if I see this AI word, I change it. Does it not feel like it still is not like we all know it's from AI, but does it not feel like you are presenting it as something else? So it's not a case of or maybe it's a case of originality, authenticity. Does it not feel like it's clashing?
So for me, there are some words you see. For instance, deep dive. When you see deep dive, you just know where the origin is. Now I get where you're coming from. I think recently I've forgotten her name now. There was a lady on LinkedIn who wrote that her daughter had written something. Like she supervised her daughter in writing it. The daughter had written it, off of her mind, poured her heart out into that writing and all of that. And then, I think they had done like with plagiarism or an AI test.
Yeah.
And AI had said that it was 100% AI. Do you get what I mean now? Although like she said or she claims that it was her daughter that actually wrote that. Now, what I'm trying to say is not that don't use AI or just go the extra mile to just remove those AI words. As much as possible, let us feel you in the writing. Right. When I read something that Kemi writes, I know that Kemi writes this. For instance, if the director of research writes something, okay, this is this person's language, this is this person's style of writing. I feel like now we're losing that originality, that humanness. So even AI will tell you, let me humanize it for you. Right? Because AI has its own language.
Yeah.
Do you get it? Is English language. Sometimes it is old English, coming back again and all of that. But let us find you, your person, your heart inside. So not when we're reading a post or reading a paper, or reading something, you just
You just
know
feel
that there's no
soulless.
heart
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
in
bland.
it. Yes, it's bland. So it's that blandness that we're trying to
eradicate.
avoid. Yes.
Yeah, I think I also want to just touching on AI. I remember I recently published my master's thesis, and I was just like, to be honest, I was thanking God that I did my master's before, like, AI
Yeah.
became mainstream, because
Boom.
I know very well that if we go back to before AI, right, and you were writing a paper, or you were writing or doing anything, that's even creativity, you're shooting everything. You first start, maybe with a pen or paper, or you will just have from a blank screen. You will read.
Yeah.
You will read widely.
Yeah.
Now, AI is now there to help you. Instead of going on Google to click, back, you just go to AI. That's why I said I love AI. I love AI so much. Go to AI and tell AI that, you know what, I want to be able to preview all of this research on this particular topic, right? And it will help you do that. Back then, you maybe spend 1 hour doing that. So back to responsible use of AI. AI is going to help you fast track that process. You need to read. Back to originality. You need to read. You must read, because if you don't read, you're now going to depend on AI to do that for you. And then that's when AI has to now start doing all of that, right? But you can use it's all about how do you use AI. You think about the process, how it was before AI. Follow that process with AI.
Yeah.
And you will just see that, oh yeah, I'm able to achieve what I would have taken me a whole day in maybe 1 hour or two. So in terms of what you were saying about originality, and to check with what you also said about, all this, see, you will solve all that problem if you're able to just remember what was the process like, right? How did I do it before? How is AI going to help me do this faster? You must read. At this, the fact that people are no longer reading is already a problem. You're not reading anymore. It's AI that's been even with the reading. AI can still do that for you in a way, in terms of maybe summarizing, okay, what does this thing mean, right? What is the general idea? Is it even worth my time reading so that I don't waste maybe 10 hours, doing that stuff? But that's just touching on originality and all of that. Go back to the time before AI. What was the process like? Add AI, to fast track that process. And I'm telling you, I believe you'll be able to maintain the originality, but at a faster pace. Yeah.
Wow, this has been quite insightful. Originality, authenticity, use your brain, right? It's been a wow experience on this AI part. And if I let these ladies talk, we're not going to end here. So let's just move on to the next question, which is about the importance of the communication department in that organization. Why are you nodding your
No,
head?
I'm nodding because I know there's a lot.
Exactly. So I also read an article which was published on LinkedIn, and it's about communication department and how they are viewed or how they are treated. It is noticed that across organizations, it's widely spoken about that, the comms team is always brought in last minute. Do you think that this notion is true? And if it is, what do you think is the issue, and how can we, what are the tips on how to harness it? Measures. We'll start with you, Ms. Gift.
So I'll say that I see, these concerns a lot on the street of LinkedIn. So if you go on the profile of about, let's say, out of 10, communications experts or practitioners, you would see like 7 out of 10 has either liked a post on this, shared a post on this, or even made a post, This is a concern, and I would say that, organizations should begin to look into this. Communications experts or your communications team should not be brought in last minute on a project in order to be able to harness fully, the impact that you want them to put out, because they are there for a reason. The communications team is there, for a reason. I'll give an example of the documentary that we're currently working on. So currently we're working on a documentary where we're x-raying how Nigerians are surviving, the cost of living crisis. So this is an extrapolation from one of our papers, right? So we were not there as a communications team when the paper, was put out. So it had to take an extra effort for us to sit down, as a team, read through the paper again, and then start planning, right? I know that for the kind of job that we do, especially here as a think tank, it is not possible that when a researcher wants to sit down and write, they will call you and say, hey, Kemi, I want to write a paper on this. What do you think about that? Right. But in terms of projects planning, last minute would just make the communications team run back to AI, right? And then there is no soul. And then at the end of the day, your communications guide, your communications manual, you're not able to follow through it. Do you get what I mean now? But if they are carried on from the outset, it makes it easier for us to then maintain the brand guide, maintain the communications policies and, strategies. Going back to the documentary, like I said, we had to then sit down, read through that documentary, start highlighting a couple of issues. So now where communications would have come in is if probably when the author of the paper had said, okay, I'm writing this paper or I'm in the middle of this paper, what do you think would have been a good or would be a good dissemination plan for this particular research work, right? So it could be a report, right? So are we going to do, what sort of dissemination are we going to do? Is it going to come out as a policy brief? Are we going to do a report, an extended report from it? Are we going to just do it on social media? Even on social media, are we doing infographics, right? Video. Are we doing video? Are we doing, do you get? So those layers of things, then we are now able to guide to say, okay, this sort of complex work. I remember there was one paper that was given to us. We struggled. It was heavy mathematics. Heavy mathematics in that paper. And putting that out on social media, we now had to draw a graph. The researcher would say, okay, take the graph like this, take the graph like that. And then at the end of the day, we're like, you know what? I think maybe a research table would be better, a dissemination strategy for this sort of paper. Because here at CC, the good thing, for us here is that we have different dissemination platforms. So we have the research table that we're sitting on right now. We have the CC podcast. We have, social media. We have academic updates, documentaries, a host of things. So animations as well, Professor Pro, and all of that. So it is important, right, to sit with the company and say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. What is the best? So from there, we're now thinking, and it will then make dissemination faster and more effective. So you're now meeting your target audience. In fact, I would say that even during the pre-inception or the conception of the research work, we're able to now know, okay, who is the target audience for this body of work? Because not every work is meant for everybody.
Yes.
Right. So when we sit down and say, okay, is this for policymakers? What strata of policy? Is this for the federal, local, or the state government? Right? Is this for ministries? What ministry, department, and agency is this particular body of work, meant to reflect? And the thing is, another layer to this is we can now even start looking for conferences, right? That this particular paper would, be a better fitting for, right? So I think that definitely it is an issue that organizations should look at, right? But then again, as comms people, we're strong. We're not pet up. We will keep doing our work and we'll keep writing on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I think just touching on what you said, definitely we're speaking to researchers who don't have a big budget, and like she said, there are many ways to disseminate your work. When you're working on limited budgets, decide on which of these platforms. If you're a good, public speaker, then maybe you should be. I know of some CC researchers, so some of them are not even here anymore. They went to study. They are still taking interviews. If you're more of the press and media type of researcher, that would be a good channel for you to just. You might not be the type that will, want to sit down and do maybe a research table. There are people who are, very good at, talking on the camera. Because some people are good at talking off camera. Maybe they are, disseminating, presenting in a workshop, whatever channel it is. It's good for you to know what your strength is as an organization, as a researcher, because you might not have the luxury of having a communications department or even maybe a strong communications department of, that has equipment and gear.
Yeah.
We have all that here in CCV, thankfully. It helps us, expand our creativity. But if you're thinking of budgets, you're thinking of, especially for non-profits, like development space, budget is usually limited, and now that there's a lot of cuts going on,
Yeah.
you have to be very strategic. Even the social media platform that you're using, if you're a better X person, like formerly known as Twitter, as we all know, that could be your own dissemination platform. But whatever it is, ensure that you're thinking about communications from the beginning, because it does not make any sense that you put in months. I talked about my thesis earlier. I remember I had to quantify, actually, how many months did I spend doing that on my own? I think from July to August, from June to August, that one was just a master's thesis. There are other research that goes on for a year. You can't spend that amount of time, money, energy on that, and then it will just end up
on social media, maybe.
Not even social media. Most
On your
times,
laptop.
you're only thinking of a journal, right?
Yeah.
But the journal is going to, yes, push your work out on its platform. But there are many, you didn't make it for the journal. You made it to solve problems in people's lives in whatever area. So it's important to, communication is a very important thing that should be brought from the beginning. Because at the end of the day, and that's one thing I love about work with tobacco control. Tobacco control, from the beginning, strategic communications it goes hand in hand with research. There's always planning from the beginning. It's not ever second place. We're always thinking about many ways we are going to disseminate research here. So it's very important. So, and the reason why I mentioned that particular program is that is just a program, right? The organization might just want to focus on specific things. Maybe infographics is what really makes sense, because they know that their stakeholders need these things when they are going for advocacy and all of and the likes. Decide on what works for you and just stick to it. Don't be, everywhere, so that you don't even run thin. And then again, the reason why communication should be brought in the beginning, so you're not making these last minute decisions in the end. Yeah, at the end. Thank you.
Yeah. So what I gather is it helps with time management. It helps with understanding what it's all about, which is very, very important, because if a communications person or specialist doesn't understand what is given to them, they cannot even relate to the audience out there. So it's always important to bring them from the inception, and explain to an extent to them, so that they can understand and be able to relate that information to the layman out there.
Yeah, I would like to even join with that, because as I said, we work with these people, and there's a lot of data that they churn out, a lot of data, and it's your job to visualize that data, not only for you, but for whoever is watching it as well. And as I've said, that we're trying to cater to a much wider audience. It's not everybody that necessarily understands how to read a graph, how to interpret this data. So if I'm just at my desk and then you come and you drop all this data, like you need a video, I'm Monday. I'm an engineer by schooling. How do I begin to break down all this data and then now visualize it and then dish it out for everyone? So it's so helpful if or when they sit down with you and they to explain their thought process while researching and formulating this data, so that you too can now understand how you visualize, create, an easily understandable. Once they see it, they just pick, okay, that this is what I'm supposed to get from what you spent all these months researching.
I feel like generally audience analysis would make whatever research work it is that you're putting out very important. If you're putting out a body of work that is meant for policymakers, if you water it down in a way that you want the average Nigerian on the street to understand, the policymaker might not understand the importance of that.
Yeah.
If the body of work that you have put out is supposed to be for, the people out there,
Yeah.
on the streets who need to understand basic things from your research, and then you use complex language as if you're writing to policymakers or you're writing to
Your peers.
or your
Yeah.
fellow academia people,
Mm.
you would lose everybody,
Everybody.
right? So I feel like one of the major reasons why you should carry communications along when you're doing your research or when you're planning projects or doing anything is for effective, dissemination. And that will come from effectively doing your audience analysis so that you're not giving to Peter what is meant for Paul.
Yeah. And I mean, like, audience analysis is what we will normally use in communications. And there's also, of course, stakeholder mapping, which I know you guys know this part, putting together that list. Oh my God. Like for events. I mean, I love, doing that now, but it was very difficult at the beginning. Now we've used AI and technology to, send out, invitations to more people. But in terms of back to purpose of communications at the beginning is that, like she mentioned, audience analysis, stakeholder mapping, who is the stakeholder, which sector, because even if it's policymakers, it's a specific sector, it's not for everybody. And even when you're talking about a specific sector, which are you talking about state government, are you talking about federal government, are you talking about CSOs, whatever it is, most times I believe researchers, for example, if you're a researcher trying to communicate with people, or you're in an organization like CSEA, where you have researchers doing their thing and there's support, with communications, you just need to have that in mind and communicate that effectively. Carry your, whether your communication support along from the beginning so that they know that, okay, these are the type of people that I want to reach. Again, we said that it doesn't make sense for you to do all of this hard work and then the right people are not reached. So hence the reason why communication should be, part of the planning process from the beginning.
process. So we've been talking about external communication. I would just like to wrap up this question with how does internal communication affect external communication in an organization? So who's gonna like to talk about that?
Okay, before we talk about internal communications, whoever is going to talk about going to be doing, can you just give us like a brief explainer of what internal communications is? Because we know external communication is just like train or disseminating, sending it out to the world. But how exactly does an organization do the internal communication?
So who would like to talk?
So I think the question really is, how does internal communication support research communications? I probably would take a course on it. But the little I understand internal communication is that, I've posted something, I'll send me in my own little way, I'll share it, with the researchers or whoever was involved on the project, right? We have this. But I think that has changed recently. I think she can speak more on that because of the inside scoop that we do here at CC.
Okay, yes. So here at CC, we have an internal newsletter, right? And our internal newsletter is the way we do our own internal communication. So as you mentioned earlier, external communication is your dissemination to the outside world. So people outside the four walls of your organization, people who are not, necessarily, partaking or, involved with the day-to-day activities that go on in the organization. So that is dissemination, right? That is the external dissemination, external communication. So internal communication now is just the communications internally, how we know, what is going on inside the organization. So that is why at CC we have the inside scoop. So the scoop is just for us that are inside, CC, the Center for the Study of Economies of Africa. And what is contained in our inside scoop? Just a few things that is contained in our inside scoop. Firstly, you would see a section for new projects. So maybe we won a bid or we're starting a new project or a new program. It would be in the inside scoop so that those of us in the organization actually even know, this sort of thing is happening, right? Not team A is working on something, or team B, doesn't know what team A is doing, right? Because that also helps to manage knowledge, right? So knowledge management, so within the organization. In our inside scope as well, if there is a new paper, before it goes out on social media, it's within our inside scope as well, so that as an organization, as researchers, as communicators within CC, we would also digest the paper and see. So from there, you would then to even get ideas to say, okay, I think, okay, let's do a research table on this. This is podcast worthy. This is Professor Pro worthy and things like that, right? And then we also celebrate birthdays. So everyone feels loved, feel welcome. So your wins are celebrated, in the inside scoop. And then we also have like games and quizzes, right? So just things to bring people in and make people within the organization feel involved, feel like I know what is going on here. Because it is very possible to be within an organization and don't know what is going on apart from what's happening on your desk. What's between you and your line manager, or between you and your team, even between you and your team. There are some things that Kemi might be working on that I might not have an idea. Adora might be working on something. Adora is bilingual, so we're trying to pick her head, for her to teach us. I'm sure.
Sorry.
I digress. I'm sure she would give us a bit of French lesson before we leave. Yeah. So a lot of all of that go into the internal communications, so that nobody is lost, so that some people don't have certain information. If there's a crack in internal communications, that's where you would see some people will start feeling left out, because I'm not privy to this information going on within the organization, but all of that is tackled within, the internal communication. It depends on how, every organization wants to handle that. But for we here at CC, we have our internal news letters that we put out this information. Yeah, and it has really helped us.
Yeah, and we also have the bi-weekly project reports, or is it
project updates?
Yeah, project updates.
Yes, we have project updates, and we also have like a knowledge management session.
Yeah,
where we have these updates bi-weekly. Okay, this is what's going on in this project. This is how far we've come on this project. The whole idea is everyone knows what is going on per time within the organization.
Yeah. And with that, it's a wrap. I hope we have been able to convince you and not confuse you that AI is good, but you have to use it intelligently, and that communications team are also a vital part of every organization. It's a wrap.
Auntie, you speak French for us, please.
Yeah.
Can
you say that in French?
Wrap now. Say
it in French. Let's learn.
Yes.
How go talk is a wrap now. Thank you for joining us on the final edition of CC's Research Table for this year 2025.
Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms, and also catch up on all our documentaries for the year.
And make sure you catch up on our animation, Professor Probe, and be sure to subscribe to our newsletters as well.
Tune in to the CC podcast for engaging conversations and economic updates to update yourself on what's going on in the Nigerian economy.
So from all of us at the CC Comms, we wish you
a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year!